Hello everyone, welcome to this new Alexa EU office hours. My name is Gaetano. I'm a developer advocate lead at Amazon Alexa. And this is a session that we do every 2 weeks. And we will be talking about Alexa skill development in general. I will be here to answer your questions, concerns, or just to give you any guidance you might need around the Alexa skills development. So today we are gonna have an external guest, which is an Alexa champion from Spain. His name is Xavi, and he's Alexa skill developer. And I will let him introduce himself. So welcome, Xavi.
Hi, Gaetano. Thank you for bringing me this opportunity to be here.
Okay, so in this session, Xavi joined to share how you can do the local debugging via Visual Studio Code. So how you can debug your skill locally to set, I don't know, breakpoints or do the usual debugging that you do with your favorite IDE on local applications, let's say. But before getting into that, I see that we have some comments in the chat. So you can call me Frank. Hello from Munich, Germany. Hi there. Welcome. We have A. Withers as well. Hi from Surrey, England. Hi there. I'm in England as well. Good morning, everyone. We are doing this session at 10 a.m. on the first and the third Friday of the month. We have other joiners. Hello from Brazil. Hi there. So, hi, Leandro. All right. So, as I said, the chat is open. You can ask us everything you want around Alexa skill development. We will do our best to address the questions concerned or anything you might want to ask. We are live on Twitch and YouTube, and yeah. So, Xavi, you want to introduce yourself a bit?
I'm Alexa champion from Spain. I'm developing Alexa skills since later 2019, I think. I had 4 live Alexa skills in the Spanish store. Uh, one was related to the about soccer scorings. Another one about basket scorings, about NBA, and 2 of them were disabled because I have to update them. The first one is a Pokédex, the most important skill about Pokemon in the Spanish store, and then one related to a local TV show here in Spain, just playing randomly some audios. And yeah, I mean, I am an Alexa developer. Apart from like building Alexa skills and building designing some conversations and putting that conversations in Alexa, my one of them my main focus are the like the developer tools and also CI/CD. I have a lot of blog posts and a lot of talks about how to develop Alexa skills and how to use the developer tools that we have right now to develop Alexa skills, and also how to automate deployments of the Alexa skills from the using a CI/CD pipeline like GitHub Actions or CI or something like that. Like when you push to GitHub, for instance, or code commit, and then you will like automate all the testing, and you will deploy the Alexa skill. And also one of the examples that I made is if you if you accept the change, you will automatically publish the Alexa skill right in your CI/CD pipeline. So that's one of the main focus. And yeah, since July, I am the Alexa champion. I also write two books called the La Revolución de Alexa in Spanish and the Alexa Revolution in English. Those are available on Amazon Kindle and Amazon store with hardcover and normal cover. And yeah, I mean, I'm working at VoiceFlow um since 1 year ago, more or less. And yeah, in VoiceFlow is one of the most like trendy tools, which is a low code, no code platform to develop Alexa skills, uh, and to create like conversations. And with one click you can deploy that conversation to the Alexa developer console very 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 easily. And yeah, that's about me.
Thank you, thank you. So if you want, you can share your screen if you want to show how we can find your books, your blog posts, etc. And
Yeah,
I can show it here for the audience.
yeah, let me share my screen. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is this is Amazon.com, but it is available on all the Amazon stores. So the English version is this one, the
Hmm.
Alexa Revolution, Alexa Skill Development, and the Spanish version of the book is this one, La Revolución de Alexa. Exactly the same, but in English. The English version was the B2 version of the Spanish one, so it has newer content. It was released on July, and the Spanish one was released on December 2020. All the all my information is available on my personal blog, so there you can find. Let me send that to the audience. So in my personal blog you can find like all my articles in Spanish or in English. Then the talks, I have also talks in English and talks in Spanish as well. The books, and I have one podcast in Spanish called El Interior de Alexa, like Inside Alexa in English. And yeah, everything is related to voice assistants, and 99% is related to Alexa. The posts in English are available on this zone,
Hmm.
and here are the all the articles that I wrote about Alexa, a part of the book. So yeah, one of the most important like series of blog posts I wrote was also how to deploy an entire Alexa backend skill in Kubernetes, using Terraform for automation. And yeah, to deploy that on EKS, Amazon Elastic Kubernetes Services, and also another Kubernetes engine like Google or Azure.
That's very very interesting. I showed your personal website on as a banner here in the stream, so that yeah, I also saw you that you posted it on the chat.
Okay.
So thank you. So as I mentioned at the beginning, the aim of this session is to show and understand how to implement your local debugging mechanism in Visual Studio Code. So, Xavi, do you mind to provide a bit of a background around it, and then we can see it in action?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So basically, what I've made is in the I didn't remember if it was this Alexa Live or the past Alexa Live, but there was a new tool. Well, there were new tools regarding the development of Alexa skills within Visual Studio Code, trying to have like the same like to have everything in the same system, in the same IDE, in order to not switch the window or switch the context between the Alexa developer console and having everything in the Visual Studio Code, at least for the developers, because like in the Alexa world, we have conversational designers and then we have developers. Maybe the conversational designers are most um, like they are used to use the developer console and not the Visual Studio Code, but the developers are I mean the main tool is the Visual Studio Code. So for that, what I set up is the local debugging. So what we are going to do in this session is how to set up that local debugging. So with the simulator that we have right now within the Visual Studio Code, we can interact with the Alexa skill, and we will see that we can set up some breakpoints, and when we are interacting with the Alexa skill, we will see like the code will stop in that breakpoints that we are going to set up. So yeah, let me introduce the steps first to the to set up everything in the Visual Studio Code. Um, this is for Visual Studio Code. The most important thing here is because the Alexa team decide like the official extension is available today, at least only in Visual Studio Code. So that's why um, we are using Visual Studio Code, but you can the local at least the local debugging, not the simulator, but the local debugging you can set up in another IDEs because it's quite easy to set up. So that can be easy. But the simulator, you have to use the Visual Studio Code or the Alexa Developer Console. So in that case, you will need to switch the window, but at least you will have your breakpoints working and your local debugging working. So for this example, I am using the Node.js local debugging. It is also available in Python. It's pretty similar. We can go through the Python one as well after the Node.js. But yeah, I mean, I have my entire experience is building Alexa skills in Node.js or TypeScript. So yeah, I'm going to explain first the Node.js. The first thing that we need, let me share that to the audience. This link, or you have that. Okay. So yeah, the most important thing here. There you go. Okay. The most important thing here is the first link that we have here on the prerequisites. What we have to install is this package in terms of npm package, ask sdk local debug. So if we click here on the first link, the ask sdk local debug for Node.js, we will go to a GitHub repo, which is the local debugging package, and then we will have two instructions that we have to execute. The first one are the first one is the upgrade the SDK model at least to the version 129, which is one of the latest, let's say. And then this is the most important one, which is the ASK SDK local debugging npm package. So those are the commands that we need to execute. So Obviously, I have those executed right now. Let me close this and I will show you.
Just one minor thing, Xavi. So for the audience that maybe know about Node.js but never used it,
Okay.
npm stands for Node Package Manager, if I'm not mistaken. So it lets you install, let's say, a package of Node.js that is made from usually someone else, so that you have all the dependency required for the project in the project folder. I just wanted to add this because maybe some people heard about Node.js but never actually used
Yeah.
npm.
Yeah. You are totally right. So yeah, npm package is, yeah, the package manager. Well, I think this is Node package manager. So yeah, we are using that for installing external libraries in our Node project, which is an Alexa skill. So yeah, this is something npm. You can install npm. I think it is pre-installed when you install Node.js on your machine, so you don't need to install anything else. So yeah, um, going here, when you run these two commands, when you have Node.js and npm install, and you go to your Alexa skill, the first thing is we can talk for the about we can talk about the Alexa, like a typical Alexa skill structure in terms of when you download the full code on your local computer. The There are two main like folders which are very important. The first one is the Lambda. In the Lambda, we will have all the Node.js code. There we have the package.json. This is the um, the file where we are going to put all these dependencies, and this is the one that uses npm to install everything, to install the full dependencies, the dependencies and depth dependencies. We can talk about the difference between those a little bit later. So yeah, in the Lambda code, what we have there is the the full Lambda. This is the code that it's going to become a live Lambda uh, coding executing, and this is the endpoint that an Alexa skill will be triggered when you interact with an Alexa skill. The other main folder, or one of the most important folder here, is the skill package. The skill package is where the all the metadata and the not only metadata but the most important things of the Alexa skill related to the interaction model. In the interaction model, we can find there all the utterances, all the intents, all the slots, all the dialogue preferences that we have set up in every utterance or intent or slot. So basically, the full interaction model per locale. Then we can find there, for instance, our APL or APLA documents. We can find there our ISP. The ISP is in skill purchasing. Those are like objects that we can define and the users can purchase within an Alexa skill. And then we have the skill.json, which is the real metadata of the skill, which is there we have the endpoints, for instance. We have also the publishing information. So when you are going to publish Alexa skill in the Alexa skill store, there in this JSON you can put all the information required, which is the information that you are going to put to that you are going to see in the Alexa skill store, like the description, the name, um, and all that stuff.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Xavi. Can you please increase the font size a bit? There is a
Yeah.
feedback from the chat.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's very visible. Thank you. Sorry for interruption.
No, no, no worries, no worries. So yeah, the skill package is the lambda and the skill package is one. I mean, the two main folders. Obviously, you can create the folders that you want. The sk resources.json that determines how the Alexa skill is deployed. This Alexa skill that we are seeing here is an Alexa hosted skill. That means that all the components, the Alexa Lambda, the skill package, everything is managed by Alexa. We are not going to create like our own AWS Lambda in our AWS account, and we can like manage that Lambda. Everything is self-managed by Alexa. That is what means the hosted skill. And yeah, we are going to use the hosted skill deployer. On the .ask, what we have is the state. I mean, this is like metadata of the metadata. That means that here we can find, for instance, the real skill ID. I mean, this code uh, goes, or this code like are linked to this Alexa skill with this ID, and then the schema. So this is pretty standard. And then we have the Visual Studio Code (VS Code) folder, and there we are going to set up all the configuration that we need for the local debugging in Visual Studio Code. So yeah, that's the project extractor basically. This is super important to have that in mind, that we are in Alexa hosted skill, and to know all the folders. So going back to the official documentation about how to set up the local debugging, what we are going to do, well, I am already done this, but I will explain. We are going to upgrade this npm package to use at least the 1.929 version, and then we are going to use the dash save dev for the local debugging. Why dash save dev parameter instead of dash save? So for that is what I mentioned regarding the dependencies and depth dependencies. In a Node.js project, it's pretty common to have depth dependencies and dependencies. A dependency is like a main library that you are going to use in a production environment. For instance, the AWS SDK, if you are going to retrieve information from S3, for instance, to get some assets or to get some information from S3, or the ASK SDK core or the ASK SDK model. Those are the dependencies that an Alexa skill needs to be run, right? The depth dependencies are dependencies that you are going to use only, for instance, for local debugging, for testing, for in TypeScript, for instance, for compiling, because TypeScript is a typed language, and it is from Microsoft, and with TypeScript is also running in Node.js, but the TypeScript code is compiled in JavaScript or Node.js code. So the TypeScript and all the libraries regarding TypeScript will go into the dev dependencies section. So that's why when you run the npm install does that save dev, that dependency go to dev dependencies, because when we deploy, well, when the Alexa deploy the Alexa skill, it will install only the dependencies that we have here, not the dependencies in the dev dependencies. So this is basically a separation of concern, which is really important for our code, to not to have surprises in production. So doing that, we have all the libraries that we need to set up our local debugging. So in terms of, let's say, our Lambda code, that should be enough. But we need to configure Visual Studio Code to use this package, the ASK SDK local debugging package. So for that, we have to go to the .vs code folder, and there we have to create a folder which is called launch.json folder. In the launch.json folder means that is the file. In that file, what we are going to create will be the executions that Visual Studio Code will run. So you can create some configuration. This is an array object, but the most important thing here is this launch configuration. You can find the configuration on the documentation. I mean, this is not only for my specific computer. This is only for that, for the runtime executable. But apart from that, if you remove that in your computer, that will work. This is because I have some paths misconfiguration. But apart from that, what you need is you have to specify all of these. The program itself, this is a variable that it is installed when you install the Alexa skill extension on Visual Studio Code. Sorry, here when you install the Alexa skill toolkit, you will have available these commands. Okay, so this is something that you are not going to change. I mean, you can just copy and paste here. This is available in the official documentation. I will back there when I finish this. But the most important thing here is the command that will execute the SDK local debugging package. We will see that in a bit. The access token, that access token will be retrieved as well from the SDK SDK local debug. It will retrieve your access token, then the skill ID as well. The skill ID is the ID of your skill, the one that I showed you, which is in the ASK states.json. Then the handle name, which is by default handler. This is located on your Lambda code. On your Lambda, you have in a Lambda, in a AWS Lambda, you have to expose or to have like a handle that will intercept, or that will that will get all the requests to that Lambda, and that handle has a name. Here I use the default one, which is handler, and that handler is the one that we need to set here as a handler name. Then the skill entry file, which is the workspace folder, which is the project itself, the /lambda/index.js, which is here, /lambda/index.js. So we have right now the handler that is defined on index.js in this folder. So this is handler in /lambda/index.js. This is the configuration by default when you create an Alexa skill. So if you change your extractor, That would be nice if you want to have this up and running, to set up this properly. And then this is, for me, that was the key here. The most important thing that I had to set up, which is the region. The region is the region of the Alexa account that you have set up in your computer. Okay, because for instance, this Alexa skill is only for US, English US. Okay, and that Alexa skill will be deployed to the Alexa, imagine, to the Alexa US store. But my account, my Alexa account, is from Europe. So you have to specify the region of your Alexa account, not your Alexa skill. This is super important because without that, all this magic will not work.
Just one thing to add on that. So the region of an Alexa account is basically based on the preferred marketplace of the Amazon retail account that you have. You can change it from your settings. If you maybe have a legacy account for which you want to change the region, I can share the link on how to change it in the chat. So then maybe you have an US account, but you don't really know. Then you put EU in here, and it's nothing works. So that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, so that was my main issue because as I said, sorry, the most of the configuration are like all the configuration by default, but that's true that the region I have to set up that to EU. Let's go back to the documentation because, yeah, if you follow the documentation, let's say that you have already installed the Node.js package or the Python packages. This is pretty straightforward. I mean, just reading the full documentation, you will see all the steps required. I mean, the same that I explained to you. Uh, you will see that the here, this is when you create a launch.json file on the using the Visual Studio Code wizard. It will create one by default, and what we are going to do is add the configuration that I was explaining, which is the debug Alexa skill Node.js. This one, you are not going to use that, so you can remove that. That's why I removed that. And yeah, after that, I mean, the step 3 is the one related to the region, which is the last step. The available regions that you can set up is EU for Europe. um, Here you have Far East, FE, and NA, North America. By default, I think is North America. And yeah, I had to change that because without specifying the region to EU, it didn't work. But yeah, that's pretty much it. We can see that in action. So when you set up the launch.json and you go through here to the run and debug in the Visual Studio Code, you will see that you will have like a configuration called debug Alexa skill Node.js, which is the name that we have set up here. Of course, we can close this, and if we run it, let's run it. We click on run, we will see like the configuration that we have set up on our Visual Studio Code configuration. It will turn into a command. The command is the following one. let me explain this because that could be useful to understand the full configuration that we have made. The first thing is that the runtime executable in my case is my Node.js, this binary. So this is the first thing that we are going to see, which is the binary. Then the program that we are going to use is the debug adapter path. What is that? This is this file, which is the ASK SDK local debugging, and then there is a interceptor, let's say. So this is like the main JS code, the main Node.js, which is located in the SDK local debugging that we have installed. So that means that this is the program, the Node.js program that we're going to execute. Then the access token, there you have the access token, and this is my access token. No worries about that because the access token changes every hour. Then the skill ID, this is the access token goes until here. On the skill ID, we have the skill ID that I told you. So this is the skill ID. You can find the skill ID, of course, here on the skstates.json and on your Alexa developer console. So this is the one with termination 234. And if we go to the Alexa developer console, we will see is this a skill, and we will see that is this one. Okay, so it's the same Alexa skill ID. The handler name, which is handler, and then the skill entry file, which is workspace folder lambda index.js, and there it is. This is my repo, the slash lambda slash index.js, and then does that region EU. So this configuration turns into this command, and this is what we are going to run. This is important to know. I mean, to try to understand what we are executing on our local computer. So after that, we will see like three outputs. The first one, region chosen, EU, Europe. This is the configuration that we have set up on the Visual Studio Code configuration. Then starting a skill debug session, and then the session will last for 1 hour. So that means that every hour, we need to launch the Alexa skill local debugging. Okay, that is because the technology I think that is using the local debugging, but I mean that's not a big deal. That's not a big problem. So just every hour you just have to restart, and that should be all here. And that should be all. So for instance, if we go to our code, in the Alexa Lambda code, at least in the in all the for Java, Node.js, or Python, but in every Lambda, what we are going to have are mainly handlers. So a handler is a function within the Lambda that it will intercept the calls for our intents. So all the intents that we are going to define, the normal thing is to have one handler per intent. So when a user trigger an intent, that intent will be performed by a handler. Okay. Then we have also some error handler, which is when an error occurs, that goes to that handler. And then we have interceptors, but that is a little bit more advanced. So we are going to put a breakpoint on the on the hello world intent handler, for instance. So the hello world intent handler, every handler has two main methods. The first method is can handle, That means that it will return true when the return of this method is a boolean. And when are we going to, when do we want to have a true value from that method? That will in this case is when we are getting an intent request. A request which is an intent request that the user is triggering an intent, and then the intent that is triggering is the hello world intent. That intent will be triggered when we type hi on the simulator. Okay. So there is another intent, for instance, which is the launch request, the launch request itself, and its sound handler, which is the launch request handler. And yeah, this is the handler that is triggered when the Alexa skill is activated. Okay, when you interact with an Alexa skill.
I have
Um,
a question, Xavi. Just
yeah,
for the early adopters, can you show into the developer console or the interaction model how the high utterance would map to the hello world intent so
yeah,
that we can
yeah,
show how
for
the
sure.
interaction model works?
Yeah. So if we go to the Alexa developer console, and on the build tab, we have the interaction model. And there you can define some different objects, let's say, for our interaction model. The first object is the intent itself. If we go to the hello world intent, which is the one that I was explaining, we will define first the name of the intent, which is the hello world intent. And then we are going to put the sample utterances. Right now we have 7 samples, which is hello, how are you, say hi world, say hi, or hi. Those utterances will trigger the same intent. Because the user has the same intention. um, so that's why we are going to have a handler, which is the hello world intent handler, that will be triggered when this intent is executed, or is detected by by Alexa itself. Then the other object that we can create on the interaction model, which is super important, is the slots. We can create some slots, which is basically, an slot is a variable. That means that imagine that you are going to you are going to develop an Alexa skill about the weather, and you want to specify the weather of all the cities. You don't need to specify a sample utterance per city. You can set up the city as a slot, which is the variable, and you can specify something like this, like uh, tell me the weather, and then within brackets, uh, you can put here like
City.
city, for instance. The new slot will not be there is no existing slot, so you can create it here, right here. And if we click, if we press enter, we can see the slot, which is a variable. And here there are some, you can create your own custom slot types. I've created some custom slot types, very useful. For instance, well, very useful. For the developers, which are the full Pokédex, the the NBA teams, the soccer of the most important European leagues. I already create those custom slot types. So if you go to my GitHub, you can download it. And this one, which is a city, this Amazon has its own built-in slot type, so we can type here city, and we can choose, for instance, Amazon Europe city. So with that, you can ask the weather of all the cities, in this case, the European ones, and and that's it. I mean, this is how the interaction model works. So Alexa detects, I mean, the process of the natural language processing and natural language understanding, how basically works within Alexa.
Thank you.
And yeah, I mean, when we have going back to the code, this is the handler that will be triggered when the user, and when we type hi, hello, how are you, say hi. Okay, so the interaction model in terms of code within the Visual Studio Code, you can file the interaction model down the skill package, interaction model folder, and then the here we have only for English US, but you will have here exactly the same. We will have the hello world intent with the samples. This is exactly the same. Um, but without a nice GUI. I mean, just within the
The
Visual Studio Code.
the JSON, yeah.
Yeah, as a JSON. So yeah, now we are running our Alexa skill. So if we go to the Alexa skill toolkit, um, mm, one second, yeah. The invocation name of this Alexa skill is local testing. This is just for a demonstration. So if we go to the Alexa skill toolkit, this is an extension which is available in the extension store in the Visual Studio Code. So if you go here, you will see that we are like set in the Hello World skill, which is the skill that we are working on, and you can do some things uh, in your, I mean, with our Alexa skill. Let's start with the test skill. So if we click and we see the menu down the test skill, we can open the simulator that you have here. This is basically the similar simulator that we have in the Alexa developer console. Here we have the JSON that we are going to send to Alexa and the JSON that we're going to receive from Alexa in every interaction. The skill stage is development, sorry, is development because this Alexa skill is not live. And the locale is English US because we have only available that in English US. So if we open local testing, which is the invocation name, we are going to start. Let's wait a little bit. There you go. Here, we are going to start seeing some things, some important things. The first thing is that obviously the input and the output are here, same as the testing tab in the Alexa Developer Console. But apart from that, what we are going to see here is on our local debugging, we are going to see as well the skill request and the skill response. Okay, so this is the same that we're going to see here in this box and in this in the other one. Now that we have, like, we are in the context of the Alexa skill, if we trigger the hello world intent, remember that to trigger the hello world intent, we can say hi, hello, say hi world, how are you, or tell me the weather. So if we type hi, we're going to trigger the hello world intent. As we have one breakpoint here, we can see that the code is stopped here, um, and we can debug and see all the object. For instance, the handler input, we can see, like, for instance, if we go to the request envelope, uh, uh, what is the request itself, we will see that the intent, the type of the request is an intent request, and the intent that we are creating is the hello world intent. So that means that this code will return true. So that's why this handler is executing. And for instance, right now we don't have any slot, or we don't have anything like pretty important, but we can go through the code like running with F10. We can go line by line and see how the things are going. Like, for instance, that you are calling to an API, or you are going to, like, let's say, you're going to pre-process or process, or you're going to store something in DynamoDB, or something like that. You can test that and go line by line and see what is happening, or trying to find a bug. So if we leave the breakpoint, just pressing F5, this will be the breakpoint will be released, and we will see the response on the simulator. Now when we are um yeah, let me restart this. When we are debugging, the Alexa by default has a timeout of 8 seconds. So if you are debugging, and then you get, I mean, you are like debugging, and that takes more than 8 seconds, the simulator itself in the Alexa developer console and also in the simulator will trigger like an error, but you, because of you are debugging. But this is intentional, this is intended. That's normal, I mean. So if we, for instance, if we really execute here, that we go. If we re-execute that and we leave the breakpoint before those 8 seconds, we will see.
Okay.
There we go. And if that works, there we go. We will see the response there. There you go. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, the most
That's
important
very
thing,
interesting.
yeah, the most important thing here is to follow the documentation. I have this code uploaded to my GitHub. So on my GitHub, you can find that code and you can trigger that.
Yeah.
It's set to
If you
EU.
paste it in the chat, I can show it as an overlay here. And there is also a question from, you can call me Frank, which is a question I would have asked you as well. Um, so first thing, this is very useful and interesting. It would save me a lot of back and forth into CloudWatch to understand like what is the request and the response in a given time of execution. But the question here is it possible to access the CloudWatch logs of an Alexa skill? So if I do a console.log in the code, will I see it from within Visual Studio Code?
You cannot access to the AWS CloudWatch, at least for the tools that we have right now. Maybe there are another extension that allow you to access to your AWS CloudWatch, but every console.log that you are running locally, you will see that in the console itself. So if we imagine that you put here a console.log,
Okay.
hello world, sorry, there you go. If you put here, you will see that output in the debug console.
Okay. Can you delete the breakpoint and try to run it?
Yeah.
So which is still useful if you have to access the logs on the spot.
If we go here, open simulator, let me reopen it to have a clean session.
So A Withers is raising a good point. There are no CloudWatch logs as is all local testing. That's true because when you initiate this, there is no, so the skill is not triggering your Lambda function, and then your Lambda function is not generating any CloudWatch logs. But in general, if you're willing to collect logs from the console, I guess you can use the AWS SDK and access your CloudWatch. That's definitely
Exactly.
doable. But yeah,
And
Hello World
here,
is appearing here.
yeah, all the console log will appear on your
Okay.
debug console.
I'm showing on the video feed your GitHub, so that this is as far as I understand, it's a already configured project with all the repositories, all the let's say folder structure to make it work, right?
Yeah. This is everything install and everything configured. So anyone that downloads that code can have a Hello World skill running with the local debugging.
Okay. I'm just conscious of time. We have a few questions in the chat before closing.
Okay.
So, from Mihal, I guess I do what you're after. Do you do this weekly or with some planning? So, we do this session every 2 weeks. So, the next one is going to be on October the 29th. And yeah, every 2 weeks, live on Twitch and YouTube, we talk about Alexa development in general. Another question for a Witter. Does this only work with CLI v2 based skill? The folder structure you showed, Xavi, looked to me as a v2 structure.
Yeah. I didn't test that in a B1, so I'm not sure that maybe that could work because in the B1, if you change the relative paths here, maybe that could work because I think the package itself is not related to the Ask CLI. It is related to the Node.js packages. So yeah, give it a try. I think that should work. Think so.
Okay. All right, so we have just a few seconds left. I'd like to allocate this time to to give a big thank you, Xavi. This is very useful for me and for everyone at least, so that it will save me a lot of journeys to CloudWatch and manually check console log.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. That's definitely one of the most important things while you are developing and you want to develop fast and reliable. That's a good point to have a local debugging.
Yes, before closing, I'll put this on the screen again. If you want to, I think everyone is free to clone this repository, right? So they can
Yeah,
use it. Here you will find all the folder structure already in place. Thank you everyone again, and see you in 2 weeks. Bye bye.
see you. Bye bye.